very warm welcome to Game On. I'm Neha Bhardwaj-Alter, and this World Cup is turning out to be absolutely brilliant for the men in blue. They made it 4 wins in a row after they beat Bangladesh by 7 wickets, with the chase master Virat Kohli getting to his 48th ODI 100 and breaking lots of records along the way. That's not all. For once, he decided to be a bit selfish. Right or wrong, we will discuss on the show. But there's no denying that he's spot on with the chases, and India won that game comfortably. Chetan Narula joins us on the show. He was there in Pune when India thrashed Bangladesh. Jamie Alter is here with us as well. And I know that he has a bit of a strong opinion on Virat Kohli getting to that 100 in that way. Let's get straight to these two gentlemen. Let's begin with the aura of invincibility, Chetan, for this team coming into the World Cup, but how that aura has only grown with every match.
Hello, Meha. Yes, it is. You can say it's an aura of invincibility. They are playing in home conditions. I mean, we'll just need to look at the past records India has in ODIs played at home over the past decade or so. Apart from Australia, no other team has gotten close to beating them in these conditions. And I say Australia with, it's weird because just before this World Cup, they played a 3-match series and Australia were nowhere. And the start of the World Cup, Australia are nowhere. So there is no team in world cricket that adapts to these conditions better than India. Almost a perfected template on these conditions, and there is no beating them. I mean, there's just nobody better, which alone makes India favorites for this World Cup. And then obviously you have the players who are performing in the way they are. Rohit Sharma in such great form, Virat Kohli contributing, Shubman Gill now, warming up really nicely. And then obviously the bowlers, they have found the formula to take wickets in the middle overs, which no team in the competition has managed. So the phrase that you used, the aura of invincibility, that's absolutely right.
Do we have an Australian supporter on the show today? Jamie Alter is wearing the Australia shirt. Jamie, is it only because you do not support Pakistan, or there is a special thing you think like Australia right now in the way they've come back in the last game against Sri Lanka, they go back into your list of favourites?
Yeah, exactly. Both reasons. I never have and never will be able to support Pakistan. And today's Australia-Pakistan. And I feel after 17 matches, we're actually going to get a close match. Also because I stuck my neck out at the start saying that irrespective of what Australia does after 2 losses, I'm going to back them for the semi-finals. Obviously, very, very gaping holes in their lineup. They're a side clearly struggling, but I think their tournament started to turn around against Sri Lanka. Yes, the worst team in the tournament, Sri Lanka, but I think now it's going to be only uphill. So just a small way to say that, you know what, Australia, I'm with you today.
Okay. Before we get to the match that Australia are playing against Pakistan today, let's look back on that India game, and they join New Zealand as the only teams unbeaten with 4 wins in a row after defeating Bangladesh by 7 wickets in Pune. Chasing a target of 257 after some terrific bowling from Jasprit Bumrah, Ravindra Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav that put Bangladesh back from 93 for 1 and 110 for 2 after 20 overs to 256 for 8. India were given another solid start from their captain Rohit Sharma, who made 48, and Shubman Gill, who scored 53. But the star of the show was Virat Kohli with his 48th century in ODI cricket. Kohli's unbeaten 103 of 97 deliveries took India to their target and the victory, and his 100 was sealed with a 6 after Kohli turned out several singles, in fact easy singles, in order to get to the 3-figure mark. India next face New Zealand on Sunday in Dharamshala, where Hardik Pandya's participation is all but over. We've already got the news that he's not going to be travelling to Dharamshala. He had hobbled off the field in Pune after just 3 deliveries that he bowled. Now what that means is, what happens to this Indian team? How do they get the best lineup? We know the kind of skill and the role that Hardik Pandya plays. So what will happen, what will be India's 11 in that Dharamshala match. So much to discuss. Is it going to be Surya Kumar Yadav who comes in? Will it be Mohammad Shami who will take Shardul Thakur's place? But first, let's just talk about that win against Bangladesh. As we've seen, Jamie, in this tournament, that there have been times that India have been in trouble, just a bit of trouble. We're not going to say they've really been pushed in any of the games, but even if there's been a bit of trouble, I'm just amazed by the character that they've shown in trying to get out of it. Even yesterday, the kind of start that Bangladesh got in those conditions where it was so easy to chase down the target for India, the bowlers and what Indian bowlers did yesterday was superb.
Absolutely. This is 4 matches in a row where I think the win contribution came equally from batsmen and bowlers. You know, when teams chase, and what India have now chased 4 matches in a row, the final memory or the abiding memory often is that batsman who finishes the job. You know, KL Rahul, 97 not out, winning runs with a 6 in that first match. Rohit Sharma, outstanding 100 against Afghanistan, but Virat Kohli hitting the winning runs with a boundary, 55 not out. The same in the third match. And then yesterday, of course, everyone's favorite player, Virat Kohli, was the one who played an exceptional innings to put the finishing touches on that win. But, you know, why are India chasing 200, 270 and not 350? It's because of this outstanding bowling attack. Chetan just mentioned, you know, how the batting and the bowling all comes together so brilliantly when it comes to India in these conditions, you know. And look at what Jasprit Bumrah does. I said it yesterday. Does it feel like the guy was out of one-day cricket for 12 months?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Look at what he's doing every match, you know. Ravindra Jadeja under 4 runs per over. Kuldeep Yadav on these tracks. How many tracks, barring Chennai, have actually had something in it for India spinners? None. Not the Kotla, not Pune, not Ahmedabad. But to rock up and not get pasted, you know, this is just outstanding. Look at the contributions. Okay, Mohammad Siraj is the weak link in this World Cup, but, you know, he still comes back and takes 2 wickets, you know, in the second and third spell. So this is, if India do go on to reach the final, which I believe they will, you mentioned that aura of invincibility. I started the World Cup saying India would probably win 7 of 9. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if this team goes 9 for 0 into the semi-finals. And I think generally, right, this time around, the widespread belief is that India have got so many bases covered that I don't think we'll see any choking or any mess ups in the semi-final. I actually have that confidence, and it's grown with each passing match. And it's because of the Bumrahs, the Sirajes, the Jadejas, the Kuldeeps. Look at what they're doing. India have struggled with their 5th and 6th bowler, but when you're struggling and you're 4-0, things aren't as bad as perhaps all of us are wondering it would be a month before the World Cup and all that chopping and changing was going on. That said, like you mentioned, and I'm sure one of the questions will be about Hardik Pandya. It's a massive loss, but I think, let's be optimistic, it should just be Sunday's match that he'll be out from.
Let's also talk about India's fielding, because not even in a single, I mean, I know this Indian team really takes their fielding seriously, Chetan, but Virat Kohli spoke about the camaraderie that he feels that this team has among each other, you know, the way they're egging each other to do better, to play better. But when it comes to fielding, I'm so impressed in the way they've gone about things. And I know that little competition they have going on where they get medals or awards every match for whoever has fielded the best, and, you know, the kind of celebration that Ravindra Jadeja did after that fielding. But that, I think, just sort of adds on to how good this team has been. You know, I mean, we've seen all the teams, they've been dropped catches, misfields. This team is on the button from the first ball and against every opposition. It's like they want to win this desperately, and which is amazing to see.
Well, the word you used, desperately, I think that's the right word. And, you know, fielding is something that accentuates both batting and bowling. You can be good at those 2 facets of the game, and on most days, on 9 out of 10 days, you are going to win matches continuously in a tournament, throughout the tournament. But it's that third facet of the game that can help you win tournaments, that can strangle the opposition. I mean, we've talked so many times about those 20 minutes of passage that India suffers, and that costs them, you know, tournaments and trophies. That happens because you're taking those catches, and the opposition is taking those catches, and it's creating chances against India's top order. And they are succeeded they're succeeding in getting them out. So I think India is trying to create that when they are on the field. Let's create those 20 minutes for the opposition and let's see if they can cope up. And we've seen that against Pakistan. We've seen that against Australia. Now we've seen that against Bangladesh in the middle order. Now, in the middle overs, they bowl like that and they field exceptionally well. And when those wickets start falling, there is no stopping. They just go on the kill, take those wickets continuously, whether it's the top order or the middle order. So one moment stood out for me in Pune. It was Surya Kumar Yadav who was fielding. He had come in for Hardik Pandya and, he just put in a dive at long on. And I was like, what is this guy's incentive to put that dive in? It's the camaraderie, the feeling that has been created in the dressing room that even the players who are not included in the playing 11, they are contributing something to the winning cause. And like I said, you use the right word, desperate. They have a great chance to win the World Cup, end the drought of 10 years, win a third World Cup, home conditions, everything is going smoothly, and the fielding is just accentuating it.
Okay, now this is the news that we've got. This is breaking news on India's all-rounder Hardik Pandya's injury. He will be missing India's next game against New Zealand to be played in Dharamshala on 22nd of October. That's this Sunday. Pandya will be rushed to the National Cricket Academy in Bengaluru, where he'll be treated by a specialist doctor from England and probably will be administered injections. Now, this is a report in Indian Express. They are saying that he will be going to Bengaluru for treatment. There's a doctor from England who will be treating his injury. Pandya is expected to join the Indian team in Lucknow. BCCI has in fact put out a statement on this as well. They've not given this information, this bit of information is from Indian Express, but this is what BCCI's statement is. They said all-rounder Hardik Pandya was taken for scans. He's advised rest. He will be under constant supervision of the BCCI medical team. He will not be taking the flight to Dharamshala with the team on the 20th of October and will now join the team directly in Lucknow, where India play England. So, looks like the BCCI and the team management are hopeful that he'd be available for the game against England. Now, coming back to the report in the Indian Express, where a BCCI official said that he will be heading to Bengaluru, where he's been asked to report to the NCA. The medical team assessed his ankle scan report, and it looks like he'll be fine by taking an injection. The BCCI consulted this specialist doctor in England, and they too were of the similar opinion. He will be missing the next game. This is what a BCCI official has told Indian Express. The medical team assessed his scan report after the all-rounder had twisted his ankle during a league game against Bangladesh yesterday in Pune. He was taken for scans and later joined the team. So he was sitting in the dressing room, and in case India needed him to bat, he would have come out. That's what the other report mentioned. So he had, in fact, what had happened is that he had limped off after putting his right foot to stop a drive from Liton Das. That was his first over. And the team management now is just hoping that that injury isn't serious. So there you have it. This is the big breaking news. We just got this news. Let's get reactions from both Jamie and Chetan. Let's start with Chetan on this one. Doesn't look serious. The good news is that he is going to be traveling to Lucknow, so he's going to be just missing one game. But the importance of that game, given the conditions in Dharamshala, Chetan, how big is this going to be? Is it going to hurt India in that one game? How are you looking at the whole situation?
Well, first of all, I'll take it with a pinch of salt. With BCCI, it's never really clear the extent of injuries, etc., etc. There is no way they are going to tell us the entire truth. I'm hoping what they've told us is the entire truth. And the statement just says that, it's a precautionary thing. He's not going to play the next game, etc., etc. So I'm taking their word for it. But again, we've seen in the past, it's not transparent when it comes to BCCI and injuries. So all fingers crossed for Hardik Pandya. India needs him. And then obviously to the second part of your question, in Dharamshala, look, the first part of the tournament, you saw a couple of games there. The ball was turning, gripping. There were good conditions for batting. England did so well with the bat there. And then the last game, obviously, there was a bit of rainfall, bit of snow. in the days leading up to that game. And obviously it's now mid or starting of or mid of autumn, mid of October now. So the weather starts changing in Dharamshala in the hilly areas. So you can assume that the fast bowlers will be of prime importance when that game happens. And Hardik has been the third bowler. I remember the day he made his debut for India. That was in Dharamshala, and he took those 3 wickets. And he was given the new ball by MS Dhoni. I think it was 2015 or 2016. I'm not very sure. But on his debut, he took those 3 wickets, and he came up as a viable bowling option, a viable pace option for India. And now it's the World Cup. India is going to be playing in a table-topping clash with New Zealand. Of course, they are going to miss him, and not just his bowling, the balance that he brings to the side. How do you bring up this balance? Obviously, you have to play an extra batsman. Suryakumar Yadav will play, but then again, the toss-up will be between Shardul Thakur and Mohammad Shami. On the one hand, you would want that extra batting element from Shardul, but on the other, you would think, okay, you know what? Why not go out with an out-and-out fast bowler and back our 5 bowlers to do the job against New Zealand, and then back our 6 batsmen to do the job against the New Zealand bowlers? I think last night I've been thinking about this, and I think this is the line of thought that India will take, and that means Shami playing ahead of Shardul, given the conditions in Dharamshala.
But that's the other thing. Then what you're doing is that you are, going one all-rounder less, Jamie. You already don't have the services of Hardik Pandya. I guess Suryakumar Yadav comes in, but he's going to be playing his first game of the tournament. Conditions are not going to be, as flat as we've seen in other places. And on top of that, we've seen how good New Zealand pace attack has been in this tournament. It seems like right now, in the way things have turned out for India, that's the one game that they'll be slightly worried about.
Exactly, not just because Hardik Pandya is not around. Even if Hardik Pandya had been fully fit, it's New Zealand. New Zealand, more than any other team, has been India's bogey team when it comes to World Cups, both T20Is and One-Day World Cups. So yes, that is the one match. And let's face it, neither have New Zealand been challenged in their unbeaten 4-match streak, and India have not been challenged. 2 for 3, yes, it was a brief period, but the brilliance of Virat Kohli and KL Rahul shoved that firmly in the backside. So four matches for both teams who are meeting on Sunday, they've not been put under the pump. So again, I know the Pacers have done well, but spin has also had a big say in Dharamshala. Aryan Dutt has done very well. Shakib got wickets there. Mehdi Hassan Miraj got wickets there. Sandner got wickets there. So it's not perhaps the kind of bouncy seeming wicket we would have expected, in Dharamshala. So yes, Hardik Pandya's loss is a massive blow. For me, the main swap in terms of the bowling comes down to which of India's bowlers who've not played the last match, who's going to give you 10 overs. And to my mind, the image pops up immediately. It is Mohammad Shami. If Shardul has not bowled 10 overs in any of his 3 matches, and you can say, okay, yesterday he bowled 9, that's much better than bowling 2 and 6. It just comes down to when you're missing a bowler, you need to bolster that by getting in a far superior bowler. And Mohammad Shami is a far superior bowler than Shardul and Hardik Pandya. It's only because we're talking about 2 outer-syllabus selections because it's an all-rounder of Hardik Pandya's capability who's not playing this match. Like we discussed yesterday, I think it's just one match, and I have full faith that India, just for this one match, will be able to get through 50 overs with 5 bowlers.
Okay, let's move on and talk about this, which is quite controversial, which is that despite cracking a brilliant century, Virat Kohli has been called selfish in some quarters for denying singles in the final overs to get to his milestone. Kohli was batting on 74. He needed 26 runs to get 100 in the 39th over, with India requiring as many to win the game to overhaul that 257-run target. In the process, Kohli denied a number of singles to his batting partner KL Rahul, refusing to run, ensuring that he had enough runs on the board to be able to get to that 100. He was batting on 97 when Naseem Ahmed bowled a blatant wide ball, which was not given a wide by the on-field umpire Richard Kettleborough, triggering controversy. The ball was bowled way outside leg. There was no contact with the bat, but Kettleborough's arm stayed still, as he refused to signal it wide with a smirk on his face. A wide would have left India with just a run to win, with Kohli on 97, meaning another wide would have ended all his hopes of completing his 48th ODI ton. But it seemed the umpire also wanted Virat's century, and he ruled the decision in the batter's favour. Now, a lot of people are also talking about how it's because of the change in rules for wides that has played a part. Let's just go straight to both Chetan and Jamie on this one. Chetan was there when this happened. What was the conversation, first of all, in the press box when that was going on, Chetan? I know the dressing room was laughing, you know, at what was unfolding in the middle, but what was going on in the press box?
Well, it was the same. I mean, everybody was laughing and just waiting to see what happens next, because it wasn't just that particular moment. It had been happening for a bit now. They've been refusing singles. Virat had been refusing singles. KL Rahul had been refusing singles. And then they were just, it was a kind of a joking passage of a play. I just couldn't make sense of it, to be honest, because I wasn't sure if they should be doing that. I mean, it's kind of trying to say that, okay, you know, we are bigger than the game. That's the kind of meaning it sent out, or the message it sent out. I mean, that's just from my perspective. But if you watch it from the crowd's perspective and the billions watching at home, like I said yesterday in another show, I mean, everybody was almost wearing a Virat jersey or a Virat t-shirt. You know, every ground you go to, people are lining up to watch Virat bat. They want Virat to win this World Cup. They want him to contribute hundreds in this World Cup. So from their perspective, nothing wrong happened. You know, they went home happy. India won. They saw Virat Kohli's century. So it was a great day for them, despite, and Pune can be a very difficult stadium to visit. So despite all their hardships, they got full paisa vasool for their money. But just from an analytical point of view, was that whatever happened, was that right? I just thought it wasn't. But again, India are comfortably placed, and the run rate is not an issue. If it was a tournament in Australia or England where run rate was an issue, Virat would be the first one. Knowing him, how he plays, how he bats, he would have been the first one thinking about run rate and not personal milestones. What happened yesterday, I'm not very sure. For this one instance, I think he was thinking of a milestone, and KL Rahul was egging him on. I think it's KL Rahul's fault more than anything else. In Chennai also, he was calculating, oh, you know what, I'll get a 4, then I'll get a 6, and then I'll score my 100. So he's the one who's actually probably, you know, calculating all the century
in fact, he
things.
said that. He said that in the post-match presentation, and this is the other thing, because he did the same thing with Shreyas Iyer in the last game, where he gave him the strike so that he could get to his 50. But this is what KL Rahul had to say. So let's just nicely put the blame on KL Rahul here, because this is what he said. No, I'm just joking. But this is what KL Rahul has said. He says he was confused. He said, it will not look nice not to take the single. It's still a World Cup and it's still a big stage. I don't want to look like I'm just trying to get the milestone. I said, I mean, it's not one, but still, I think we'll win quite easily. So if you can get to the milestone, why not? You must try. And he did that in the end. I wasn't going to run the singles anyway. Like I would think if Virat Kohli really wanted to just finish off the game, he would have listened to KL Rahul, Jamie. It is very convenient here that, oh, KL Rahul said this to me, so I went on with it. My only problem with this is, what if it was not Virat Kohli and someone else, Jamie? Would the yardstick be same? Would there be more criticism? Because right now I feel like, especially former cricketers, everybody is quiet. And if there are some who have come out, they've come out in support of what Virat Kohli did. The other thing is, it sets a bad precedent. At what point do you say, oh, 55 balls are enough? What if tomorrow there's a player, 12 balls and 5 runs needed, and he decides to deny singles and then takes the game deep and possibly loses the game? He can say, well, Virat Kohli did it that time. Why is it not applicable to me? I thought I could have won the game. I'm just saying that what you're trying to do it, and so doing it in such a, in this manner where everyone can see what you're trying to do. I mean, I know batters have slowed down in the past. How often have we seen that? But to do it in this manner, it's almost like, nahi, he deserves 100, let him get it however he wants to.
Okay, so I know that I'm in the minority here because of reasons underlined by Chetan. If there were 35,000 people gathered at the stadium, they all wanted to see Virat Kohli 100. And frankly, nothing quite sends people into a good sleep when a Virat Kohli century, because he's the greatest chaser of this generation. It puts a skid on the match. But I actually have a problem because maybe I'm old school. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it from a different perspective. The player cannot be greater than the game. And we saw this. We saw that when Sachin Tendulkar dragged himself on in pursuit of that 100, how many matches were lost in that pursuit, how many careers were stalled. And finally, when that 100 came, it came in a match no one remembers because we have this blind faith. We call people gods. I have never called any player a god because gods are gods for a reason. I'm going on a different track here. The 100 that finally came for Sachin, he slowed down immensely because of greed, and India lost that match. It was an Asia Cup match to Bangladesh. What if this happens with Virat Kohli? Now, again, like I said, there's various ways to look at it. India, I think, scored 33 off the last 17 balls. So maybe the net run rate calculation was not going to be impacted by Virat turning down 4 or 5 singles. But you said it, Meha. We've seen in the Australia series, in that first ODI, how Shubman Gill and Shreyas Iyer slowed down before hundreds. But Meha, to my mind, and please weigh in if you think I'm off the track here, there's a difference between slowing down and turning down very easy singles. This, to my mind, is not on. And you're right. Yes, Virat Kohli will get judged by a different yardstick. If this was an Australian player, a South African player, everyone and his uncle would have been jumping down. I have never seen it. I don't know. Am I fair to say this was the most blatant example of a contrived 100?
Yeah.
I've been watching cricket for
World
30
Cup
years.
For sure.
Even though this were a bilateral with the series wrapped up, this was blatant, contrived 100 making. That's my issue with it. Slow down. Virat Kohli is the first player who will say, "Bhaiya, main 80 se 100 hamesha slow down karta hu." But that's very different from saying कि मैं 7-8 single नहीं लूंगा. This was contrived. And in regards to KL Rahul, I'm going to say it in Hindi. आपने कह लिया, हमने मान लिया. No, I'm really sorry. I love Virat Kohli. After Sachin, if any batsman bats, I shut things down. I watch. This was a brilliant 100, 4800. But I have a problem with how contrived this was in a World Cup.
Let's also talk about that no ball. Was it really a no ball? If it wasn't, should it have been? If it was a no ball, should it have been given? What was Richard Kettlebird thinking? Because let's first put what was the original clause, the old clause in, when it comes to wides. And then I'll tell you what has been the changes, because that's the other conversation now that, oh, no, it is changed, and that's why. He says the ball will be considered as passing wide of the striker unless it is sufficiently within reach for him to be able to hit it with the bat by means of a normal cricket stroke. This is the older clause to determine wide deliveries. Now, let's take a look at the newer one. What does that say? And this amendment says, in the modern game, batters are more than ever moving laterally around the crease before the ball is bowled. It was felt unfair that a delivery might be called wide if it passes where the batter had stood as the bowler entered his or her delivery stride. Therefore, law 22.1 has been amended so that a wide will apply to where the batter is standing, where the striker has stood at any point since the bowler began their run-up, and which would also have passed wide of the striker in the normal batting position. Now, a lot of people are giving this as the reason for Kettlebird not giving that wide. Chetan, it was clearly a wide, even by this new amendment. Whatever they're saying, Virat Kohli really hadn't moved. It was very fractional. Just the move was hardly anything. He just sort of bent forward. It was a wide.
No, I kind of disagree with you there. I think it was not a wide by this new rule, because the rule clearly says the batsman cannot have a movement. The ball cannot pass where the batsman has had a bit of a movement. Virat Kohli has a very, very clear trigger movement. He takes the leg stump guard, and then when the ball is being delivered, his trigger movement, his front foot comes across and lands on the middle stump, which exposes the leg stump a bit when the bowler is bowling down the leg side. So that is where Richard Kettlebird, the umpire, saw that trigger movement. Virat Kohli has a very, very distinct trigger movement, especially against spinners when he's covering his stump and going towards the leg side line. So So just because of that trigger movement, if you compare it with the Ashwin, the wide delivery last year in the Pakistan match T20 World Cup, Ashwin does not have a trigger movement. He just swiveled. If I can't stand up and show you, he just swiveled, and the ball just went down the leg side, and that's why it was given a wide. And today also it will still be given a wide. The Virat Kohli wide was not a wide just because of Virat Kohli's trigger movement.
I don't think so, and I completely disagree. I say this because most of this lateral movement that they are talking about, that ICC have amended this rule for, I feel like that lateral movement is when, you know, they are bowling wide off stump, and how players are moving because of the T20 format. It's not really going down leg. If you're going down leg and you've just moved slightly, I don't know, Jamie, you want to weigh in? Do you have a differing opinion on this one? Was that a wide?
I honestly, I'm actually on the fence. When you see the initial movement, again, this comes from 30 years of watching cricket, you assume it's wide, right? But then when you look at the law, right, when the bowler's coming in, you know, you look at the trigger movement is fine. As the ball is bowled, there's a slight shuffle, you know. So if you look at it as per the definition of the law, which was introduced, I think, sometime in the latter half of last year, by that margin, technically, it is not a wide. But from years of watching it, it does look like a wide. Now, is Richard Kettleborough being swayed by the occasion? I would hope not. I would hope as a non-partisan neutral umpire, he was not swayed. But to the naked eye, again, I'm saying this comes from years of watching it. It does look like a wide, but technically, if you go by the MCC's refined laws, it's not. So I guess we have to go by what the law says.
Nah, I don't agree with both of you. But then let's just move on. Krish Shrikant, he also stands by Virat Kohli. He says, what is wrong in what Virat did? Let's put that quote up. He says, I question people who don't understand cricket. Note it is a huge deal to score a century in a World Cup. Virat Kohli deserves this and much more. Kudos to a team man like KL Rahul, who deserved it against Australia in Chennai. Enjoy when you still can. I've done a lot of shows with Krishnamachai Shrikant, but again with this one, I completely disagree. Just because you deserve 100, you do not start denying singles in a bid to chase that milestone. That's not what this game wants. But we've completely run out of time on this conversation because there is a match on today, and today's match sees the World Cup move to Bengaluru, where Pakistan are playing Australia in a potential cracker. 2 points separate fourth place Pakistan from Australia at sixth, but the two teams are coming off different trajectories. Pakistan, after beating Netherlands and Sri Lanka, were utterly demolished by India in what was a damn squib of a contest, whereas Australia, after losses to India and South Africa, got their first points off Sri Lanka to stay alive in the World Cup. Today's match pits a brittle Pakistan batting order against Australia's struggling pace attack, which has not lived up to its billing as one of the best in the game. Mitchell Starc, Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, they've not had the impact befitting their individual reputations, but there were signs in the win over Sri Lanka that things are about to change. And in Adam Zampa's man of the match performance in that win, after two poor outings, it could be that Australia pounce on Pakistan today. Of course, Indians would love that. Babar Azam is short of runs, as is Imam ul Haq, and the middle order, and with Shaheen Shah Afridi and Haris Rao clearly not 100% fit and lacking that optimum pace, Pakistan face a stiff challenge. And there you have it. The toss is done, and Pakistan have won the toss. They have opted to field on that surface. Opting to field flat, short boundaries. I'm sure Jamie is not happy. Actually, Jamie is happy. Pakistan have set themselves up, Jamie, for another failure. Is that going to, is that going to really impact their result?
Look, I have written off Pakistan now after that India match. So I just don't see them putting up a challenge. And you rightly mentioned, the batting. I mean, if you're now at a situation where you're in a dilemma, do we play Fakhar Zaman or do we play Imam ul Haq? You're doomed, right? And as you mentioned, it's very visible, at least to me, that Shaheen and Rauf are nowhere near 100% fit. In the three matches Pakistan have played, the pace has been sorely missing, especially from Haris Rauf. So clearly they're working with a threadbare bowling attack. Their leading wicket taker is someone who came in only because Naseem Shah was injured. That is Hassan Ali, So clearly a player who was not deemed good enough for the World Cup initially, when he's coming and out bowling Shaheen and Rauf, Pakistan's bowling is crocked. So I don't see them doing anything. I think we should move beyond the talk of, we don't know what Pakistan will show up, mercurial. No, to my mind, this Pakistan team is done and dusted. I had a lot more faith and respect for Babar Azam before the Asia Cup, but now that I've had the longest time to watch him, I don't know honestly what the fuss is about. Maybe he's scoring runs just in Pakistan on those tracks, but across Sri Lanka, 4 innings in Sri Lanka, and now three here, he's just not. And when you're not scoring runs in big tournaments and you're a captain, I just don't think this Pakistan team is going to put a challenge to any serious team. And like I said, Australia, yes, clear, visible cracks. You also mentioned when you were setting up this segment how Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood, and Mitchell Starc do not look like the trio which they actually are on reputation. But they've got to win, and just because it's Australia and you can never fully write them out until it's over, I see Australia turning their fortunes around once again and probably getting up enough points to make this semi-final.
Yeah, it doesn't help that Shadab Khan has been out of form. He's been so key to Pakistan's performance in the recent times, and he sits out. He's sitting out, and Osama Mir, he comes in. But let's talk about what one can expect from this pitch in Bengaluru. It's different, and it'll be slightly different given it's a World Cup, Chetan, but it's going to be a flat pitch. Why put yourself under pressure in case Australia, with the kind of batting they have, put on a huge total, and then you have the scoreboard pressure? Because you have opponents breathing down your neck. You need to win everything from here on.
Meha, if there is one ground in the country today where you close your eyes and you chase, that is Bengaluru. There's no surprise for me that Pakistan has won the toss. Even Pat Cummins has said the same. He would have fielded first. There's going to be a lot of dew at the Chinnaswamy. There is always dew at the Chinnaswamy under lights. Batting becomes so easy. We've seen it in the IPL. You always try to chase. At the end of the day, it'll come down to how many Australia can score. To my mind, they need 350 at least. And then it's up to Pakistan. Yes, once you score 350, then the element of dew and chasing under lights is negated a bit. The boundaries are short as well. We have to remember that it's just 60-meter boundaries. Only the straight boundary, that too on one side, is 70 meters. So the others are all 60-meter boundaries. So dew, ease of chasing under lights, short boundaries. Chinnaswamy is the perfect chasing ground. Like I said, the only aspect comes into picture is how many Australia get. If they get 350, then despite it being a chase helpful ground, you have to keep on scoring at 7 and over throughout the innings. It can happen, but it can also not happen. So to my mind, it's a fantastic toss for Pakistan to win. Australia's batting hasn't looked good, so they will be under pressure to perform first, knowing that anything less than 350 is probably going to be under par on that pitch.
This coming from someone who's been struggling with his predictions, just overconfidence. But no,
no, it's not.
You're right. Dew does play a role, but what we've seen so far in this tournament, frankly, what we've seen in this tournament so far is that dew has been supposed to be, coming in Kotla. It's supposed to be coming in Lucknow. None of that happened. So we don't know, but yes, okay. If you see, historically, traditionally, dew has played a role. Jamie, let's also talk about Australia and their problems with the batting as well. Yes, Mitchell Marsh got runs, which is good for them. They needed that. But what about the others? David Warner, Steve Smith. When are they going to say, you know what, World Cup, we need to score some big runs?
Look, I think we can all agree that this is not an Australian batting lineup operating anywhere near optimum level, right? Mitchell Marsh has clicked once. He needs to really haul himself up and start to play like the Mitchell Marsh we know he's capable of. David Warner wants to go out on a high. He needs to do a bit more. Every single batter, Meha, in this lineup needs to do more, Of course, we've addressed the Travis Head issue. That's a massive loss. But you need to be batting a lot better. You probably only won that Sri Lanka match just because, and I'll say it again, Sri Lanka have the worst bowling attack. Netherlands actually have a more varied, a more determined, and a more potent bowling attack than Sri Lanka. They've had to call Angelo Matthews up as a replacement. That just says how poor. I mean, look, I'll say it again. There's a reason why Sri Lanka had to go to the World Cup qualifiers. Consistently, over the last year and a half, their one-day cricket has fallen to such a standard that they're just not. I don't think they should actually be in this World Cup.
Yeah.
When you go and you beat the PNGs, Omans, UAE, and all these teams, it just says that you're nowhere near a top team. So, but that said, Australia, they escaped against Sri Lanka because on the day Kusal Mendes was not able to score a big 100. Adam Zampa apparently was struggling with back spasms, but for him to come back, because he's one of the bowlers that I think Chetan also had tipped for a good World Cup, but two really bad matches. Good that he gets 4 wickets, but Australia cannot be going around with 199. What is it? They didn't even get to 200 against South Africa, and the target was barely over 200 against Sri Lanka. So Australian team needs to figure out how are we going to get to 300. And Chetan is right. This is Chinnaswamy. 300 might not be enough, So how is Australia going to get to 350? Not a clear answer, but if they don't do it now, then it's curtains for them.
Okay, let's also look at Pakistan's bowling, Chetan. All that they've been talking about, I mean, Shaheen Shah Afridi coming into the tournament, he's been ordinary. They've not got the help that they needed from Hassan Ali, Haris Rauf as well. I mean, they lack teeth as well. They lack the bite that we saw from them in Asia Cup. So that has also been another problem. So Shadab Khan's out of form, he's been dropped, but their pacers are also not being able to get the breakthroughs.
Pakistan's bowling is a problem, and I think Australia will be buoyed by that fact because their batting has been a bit of a problem. Like Jamie said, they've not been scoring too many runs. So I think on a pitch like this, if they get a good start, it gives them the perfect opportunity to push back Pakistan. And obviously Shadab Khan not playing today, that to me was an obvious call. I mean, Usama Mir, a bit of an unfair call to him because it's not going to turn in Chinnaswamy, and then obviously short boundary. So he's coming in for a game. Very, very tough game, I think. But again, bowling first, they will have to make inroads in Australia's lineup. They will have to use whatever the pitch has to offer. They'll have to, use variation. That's the one problem with Pakistan's bowling lineup. It can become really one-dimensional. I mean, you look at Haris Rauf. He just has pace. He doesn't have anything else. So it works overseas because on those pitches, the bounce, you can get a bit of lateral movement. But on these pitches, he's bowling back of length at pace. He's just going to get clobbered. So one-dimensional bowling attack, I think that is Australia's best bet. Like I've said, if they can get somewhere between 325, 350, I think Pakistan will be under pressure, even though they will be chasing analyse. So anything less than that, and Pakistan will back themselves to get those runs.
Okay, so yes, Pakistan have won the toss and they have opted to field in Bengaluru. And Babar Azam, he said at the toss that they will want to bowl fast. The pitch looks really good. He says we've had a couple of good sessions. We're hoping to do well. One change for them. Shadab Khan sits out. Usama Mir comes in. Pat Cummins says they would have had a bowl as well. The energy was awesome, even though they had a big partnership. This was about the last game. And he said that it's the same team that they have gone with after that win over Sri Lanka. But one change for Pakistan, and they need to win this one. With the kind of start they had after losing to India and all that has happened since then, there was a viral infection that some of these players were down with. So to come back and then meet a team like Australia, who have a point to prove now. They want to climb up. They know that they've started right at the bottom of that points table. They want to climb up. They've already been buoyed by their win against Sri Lanka. It's going to be a cracking encounter. Let's see who wins this one. You guys want to make a prediction for the first innings, Chetan?
Australia to get 320 plus easily.
Okay, 320 for Australia. You were, by the way, you were spot on in terms of the time that it took for India to finish the game. But Jamie was spot on with the margin. I mean, 7 wickets.
I have Virat Kohli and KL Rahul to thank.
I was just going to say exactly.
I mean, even then it was like 30 or 39 overs. But yeah.
Yeah, I said the same thing. I said maybe Jamie, you could have got that 39 overs thing, but he says no, they will take it right down. It's KL Rahul
because Rohit Sharma.
Yeah.
The way Rohit and Gill were batting, this would have been 30 over stops. But
Yeah.
good fun that the Virat Kohli got 100. We needed
No,
to
let
see
me
that.
ask you this then. Let me put you both on the spot. Would Rohit Sharma have done what Virat Kohli did in trying to get to 100?
Never. Never.
No, never.
Okay, that's it. I'm going to, on that note, wrap this up. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us here. Chetan Nirula and Jamie Alter, always a pleasure. That's it then on News 9 Live. Whatever you want from the world of sports, if you're into that kind of thing, then News 9 Live is what you need to subscribe to. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.
They picked my husband.